What's going on, traders? Sandro O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. It is August 3rd, 2021. Please go ahead and click the like button on this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content. I'll continue to make it for you. Today we are going to talk about the broad market indices, everything that happened there. We're going to go under the hood and check out our sectors and style factors. We will take a look at some options order flow. We'll go through my trades as well. Before we get into all that, quick risk disclaimer: nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but certainly not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. All right, let's jump into today's vid. So today I would say is a good example of some market chop, on my part, some market discombobulation. And let's talk through what happened today. So S&P 500 box scores. S&P up 0.81% for the day. NASDAQ QQQ up 0.61%. IWM small caps up 0.41%. And the Dow Jones closed up 0.79%. So yesterday, things looked pretty ambiguous. We, hit this overnight high up here. We opened up down here and we pretty much sold off throughout the entire trading session. We lost this monthly value area high. So it looked like, okay, the momentum is to the downside. Today we came into the session essentially flat. We were maybe up like 15, 20 basis points. And we ended up selling off, very slowly, I would say. It was like a pretty soft decline down to this 20-day simple moving average. And responsive buyers did come in and just lift this right off. So we shook out below this weekly value area low. And then at around 10 o'clock, you can see this huge volume bar that came in and just pushed us higher really throughout the session. So at this point in time, we were facing some of the weakest seasonality. But I would say, hey, it looks like the market stuck this landing. This was just kind of like a routine pullback to the 20-day. But what kind of puts us in a weird spot is, so we're chopping around in a range. I guess there's nothing really wrong with that. We're consolidating in time, which is good. Key moving averages are catching up. We keep failing to break above this like 44.22 level. But then it looks like buyers are just stepping in and picking this right up off this like 43.75-ish level. So yeah, really just consolidating in a tight band. Let's jump over to our NASDAQ. NASDAQ, a very similar situation. We tagged this 20-day simple moving average. We undercut it, and then we pushed above this monthly value area high. And then Russell still looks pretty ambiguous. So yesterday we lost the 20-day, so it looked like, okay, maybe we're gonna slip down a little bit here. And we did slip lower, and we slipped below this monthly point of control, but this really just caught its footing, and we ended up closing right on the 20-day moving average. I would say that's like a maximum ambiguity close. A lot of times the markets do that where they'll close pretty much right on, a support or resistance level. Dow Jones, yeah, this is another like max ambiguity close. Had the shakeout below the 20-day, and buyers came in and pushed us right up to this monthly value area high. August seasonally is a very choppy month, so it's important to not get caught up in the chop. And it's important to not really be dogmatic. So like I came into today with a more bearish bias. And, I just thought the momentum from yesterday was to the downside. Hey, maybe we will get a pullback. And what's weird is, I was right and I was wrong. Where we did end up getting a deeper pullback. But then that pullback was just bought right up. So that's where for today, I definitely had to do a pivot within my trading and just make sure like, okay, you may have been bearish yesterday, but things changed a little bit. So I just needed to make sure that I updated, my portfolio, made sure it was in line with my new outlook. Market breadth ended up very positive. So look at this. We had 77% advancers in the SPY. And our weakest index, the IWM, we had 58% advancers. Oh wow, and Dow Jones had 83%. So yeah, overall the market breadth was great. So there's really, there's nothing bearish about it if you just pull back to the 20-day. And then, you just bounce off on high volume on nice breadth. Finviz heat map. This was really oscillating throughout the day. In the morning, our leaders were Nvidia and Tesla. And it was like, okay, these, they need to continue on their advance in order to keep this momentum higher. Both of those original leaders really died out. But then we had some other areas of the market that really came in and pushed things higher. So let's go through some of those sectors. We had some red sectors. You can see like cannabis, SPACs, social media, Chinese internet. Positives for the day. Solar energy was up 3.57%. That was our best performer for the day. And then some other very solid performers. Healthcare was up 1.39%. Let's pull up healthcare. You'll see this is really making a move. So healthcare, this is, to me, what's going on right now is there's a trade of, lower long-term growth, and also it looks like lower long-term inflation too. So healthcare typically does very well when we're thinking about an economy that's really stagnating. There's not really much economic growth. This is a place where investors oftentimes put their capital, and healthcare has really just blown off. Like at this point, there's no way I could take an entry in this healthcare sector because now it's super extended from the key moving averages. And then we had solar stocks do very well. These pushed up to the 200-day, but just fell short of really crossing above it. And then what else did we have that was strong? We had European financials, industrials. Yeah, industrials, transports. The thing that's odd is like we have this fiscal stimulus package that's sort of like up in the air, while I think people are also starting to price in lower long-term economic growth. So yeah, every day it just seems like there's a new rotation. I think most market participants are kind of like, where do we go? Are we having fast growth, slow growth? We have high inflation currently, but people are expecting it to drop off in the future. We got these tapering concerns. Yeah, there's a lot of ambiguity. Industrials, very solid performer. I'll definitely be watching this group for tomorrow to see if we can break out of this range. And let's see what else we have. Style factors. The style factors were momentum up 1.16%. High beta was up 1.26%. And then what else do we have? International value was up. Yeah, so style factors, a lot of strength across these different areas. International momentum was up. So yeah, looking good on the style factors. And let's just pull one of these up. So let's see like this momentum ETF. Yeah, so pretty nice finish, and this is towards the upper end of this recent range. Very interesting. Okay, so those are our style factors. Okay, so let's talk about some of my trades for the day. So I would say this was like a good example today of where market bias I came in with was like partially correct, but then by mid to the end of the day, I really had to pivot. So this is very important as a trader. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay. Like today, I would say I was definitely a little bit discombobulated. A couple of things did not work like consecutively. And when that happens, you really just have to right yourself. So, that might mean, hey, I need to stop out of some of these if what I was expecting to happen doesn't happen. Or, if my original thesis that I entered is now invalidated, those types of things. To me, it makes sense, like just stop out and then just, revamp from there, rebuild from there. So Alibaba, this one, I had a position in some January 2022 calls. I stopped out of these. Alibaba reported their earnings today, and they had an earnings miss. This name still looks okay in terms of the way the chart is developing, where, you know, put in another green candle. So I could definitely revisit this in the future, but I would say, like, you know, the earnings miss was like, there's no real reason for me to stay in this trade currently. So yeah, stopped out of Alibaba. And then what else did I do? So I got long some September Square calls. This was in the morning at 9:40 for 725. And then Square just proceeded to, like, it triggered my setup. And then Square just proceeded to literally, like, dump. Like, I would say this was probably just a flush out. But, you know, I stopped out of this pretty soon after entering it, because I would say maybe like 20 minutes after I entered, or it may have even been like 5 minutes after. You know, we just saw like a ton of volatility come in. See, it was like right around here, and we just fell right below this weekly or this daily value area. And yeah, so for this one, I just stopped out of it. I was like, the reason why I entered, I thought this was going to be a breakout, you know, above here. So I just took a stop on this Square position too. Square ended up closing. Yeah, this to me doesn't look like a super bearish close. This is just kind of like some digestion after a really nice day of price action. But the important thing is when you're managing your risk, I think what a lot of people struggle with is they don't want to manage the risk because they're afraid that they're going to manage their risk, take the position off, and then the position's going to go up without them. And that, I think it's a very normal concern. Everyone feels that, I feel that, but when you're managing your risk, you really just can't worry about that. You know, even if it does go up after you, whatever, you can always jump back into the trade. I took some MasterCard September calls, playing it for an oversold bounce. MasterCard did not really go anywhere throughout the day, at least from my entry. It did have a nice little bounce. By the time I entered, looks like a lot of the meat on the bone was gone. So yeah, I stopped out of this one for a scratch. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna, you know, sort of like reallocate here, regroup, that sort of thing. I had some Pinterest puts. So I came in with 3 put options. I came in with puts on Pinterest, puts on SPY, and puts on the Qs. These all in the morning, you know, they were all working, all in the money. But then the market really just turned to the upside. So I stopped out of all 3 of these. I basically said, like, there's no reason to have any short exposure in the market. So let me just, you know, nip these in the bud. So yeah, I closed out. Basically today was like a bunch of stops for me. And that's okay, because the worst thing is, like, you know, you add 3 shorts, you think that the market may go to the downside, the market starts rotating back higher, and then you go, well, you know, let me wait for it to come back. You know, I know it's going to come back in. It very well could, but you're never guaranteed that. You know, you could have some very small losers that end up turning into much bigger losers. So for today, I just nipped these all in the bud. So yeah, today for me, I basically had to like flip my positioning from more like neutral to getting a little bit more bearish, you know, back to not like fully allocated or whatever. I just tried to leave some room in my portfolio, but I just flipped it back to, you know, full on bullish bias. And then Capri was one that I entered into the close. So I was like, you know what, I'll add some exposure, and I'm gonna add to this peg setup in Capri. So Capri reported nice earnings a couple days ago, had a nice green candle, nice power earnings gap. Then yesterday it attempted to break higher above the high of the day from the initial breakout, and it failed. Today we actually got the push through, and now we are trading right up to this pivot over here, which is the prior all-time high. So let's see tomorrow if we get a push out for Capri. But I would say today was a really good example for me of a trading day where pretty much like everything goes wrong, and like everything you try just didn't work for a day. And for me, it's always, okay, you just cut all the positions out and then you take it from there. Sometimes you can get really chopped up. Like say you enter a couple shorts, then the market starts going higher, and then you start entering longs as you go up higher, you can really get messed up. I know some people do that where they're like, well, I don't want to be as short, so let me just add some longs. Then what can happen is, the market goes up, you're still not really making any money because you still have those shorts on. And then what can also happen is, the market drops back down, and then now you're not even making any money on your shorts because you added some longs in your portfolio. So when I get my market bias, incorrect on the session, typically what I do is just reverse it. So I just basically hit the undo button. Those bearish positions that I entered, I'm going to take those off. And then even like rushing to just jump back into a bunch of bullish positions, I try not to do that either. So I added Capri on, but I wasn't. Sometimes you can really panic and be like, well, I was in 3 shorts, I'm going to take those off, and now I'm going to add in 3 longs. And you can really just whipsaw yourself. Like, I know this is August. I'm expecting a very choppy month of trading. So for me, the way I see this market is, it's not one that I want to be short because, we have some nice strength and momentum. These dip buyers just came right in. But it's not one where I really want to be going like all out during this summer trading month where as of right now, we're really just stuck in a range. All right, let's real quick. We'll go through some options order flow. Let's check this out. And this is our options races brought to you by VigTech. Okay, so we have a bunch of Tesla flow today. Tesla was basically flat on the session, more Amazon flow. And then AMD sticks out. This has been a flow leader past couple days. Yesterday I closed out my AMD calls for about a 100% winner. Baba saw some flow. Snowflake. So let's take a look at Snowflake. We'll look at all these. AMD. This one just continues to blow off. This one has been wild. So I closed out my position yesterday. I had some calls. Today there was some news that I believe they're introducing a new product. New AMD Radeon Pro W6000X series GPUs. So really what I'm thinking is there were probably so many market participants that knew about this ahead of time. And that's probably why it's been, literally just like ripping to the upside the past couple days. Maybe it's just the earnings momentum too. That could certainly be it. But yeah, really nice news. And this stock has been moving on nice volume the past, couple days. So I exited this one yesterday. And I would say at this point, this is a lockout rally where if you miss the original pivot point where I originally entered, now it's very tough to get, a high risk reward entry in this name. Snow had a good day as well. Nice breakout day for Snow coming on high volume. So I'll definitely be watching this one in the days to come. And then the other one was, Square was up there as well. Yeah, AMD. Yeah, and then Square, we already touched on this one. But yeah, this is really just in the grand scheme, a little bit of like sideways consolidation. So I'm still going to be watching Square to see if there's another entry point or another test of this pivot. That about does it for options order flow. That also does it for this market recap. Hope you all had an awesome trading session, and I will see you all tomorrow.